Listen to me very carefully. Something broke in the global financial system this week. While you were distracted by the headlines about Greenland, while you were arguing about the Canada tariffs on Twitter, while you were watching the political theater in Washington, the tectonic plates of the global economy shifted violently, and almost nobody noticed until it was too late. The price of gold just crossed $5,100 an ounce. Now you might think, okay, Mark, gold went up. Who cares? I don't own gold bars. You should care. In fact, you should be terrified, because gold at $5,000 is not an investment signal. It is a death rattle. Gold does not go up because it becomes more valuable. Gold is a rock. It sits in a vault and does nothing. Gold goes up when the currency you use to buy it dies. When gold doubles in price, it means the dollar has lost half its purchasing power. We are witnessing the beginning of the end of the US dollar as a store of value. And here's the scary part. It is not an accident. It is not inflation caused by supply chains. It is a deliberate, calculated, engineered policy by the President of the United States. Donald Trump is killing the dollar on purpose. And if you don't understand why he is doing it and how he is using the Federal Reserve as his weapon, you are going to be the collateral damage in the greatest wealth transfer of our lifetime. Let's go back to the basics. For the last 40 years, the United States has had a strong dollar policy. This means we wanted our currency to be expensive so we could buy cheap goods from China, cheap energy from the Middle East, and cheap cars from Europe. It made consumers happy. You could go to Walmart and buy a flat-screen TV for $200, but it destroyed our manufacturing base. It made it impossible to build things in America because our labor was too expensive compared to the rest of the world. Donald Trump ran on one promise: make America great again. And to him, that means make America manufacture again. He wants factories in Ohio, not Shenzhen. He wants steel mills in Pennsylvania, not Nippon Steel. But you cannot have a manufacturing boom with a strong dollar. It is mathematically impossible. If the dollar is strong, American cars are too expensive for Germans to buy. American corn is too expensive for Mexicans to buy. So Trump has a new policy. It's called the weak dollar policy. He wants the dollar to crash. He wants it to be cheap. He wants to devalue your savings so that American factories can compete with China. He is effectively pulling a reverse Plaza Accord. In 1985, the U.S. forced Japan and Germany to appreciate their currencies to save the U.S. economy. In 2026, Trump is forcing the U.S. dollar down to destroy the competition. But there is one obstacle in his way, one man standing between Trump and the devaluation he wants: Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is supposed to be independent. Their job is to fight inflation, and a weak dollar causes inflation. If the dollar tanks, the price of your coffee goes up, the price of your gas goes up, the price of your iPhone goes up. So the Fed is fighting Trump. They are keeping interest rates high to prop up the dollar, and this is where the war begins. This is why you are seeing the chaos in the news. On Monday, Trump didn't just criticize the Fed, he declared war on it. He announced he is looking into the legal mechanisms to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook. He is threatening to audit the Fed's gold reserves. He is using the Justice Department to investigate Jerome Powell for economic sabotage, and this has never happened in American history. Presidents usually complain about the Fed in private. Trump is doing it on Truth Social in all caps. He is telling the market, I will break the Fed, I will force them to print money, I will force them to cut rates, and I will get my weak dollar no matter what it costs. And the market believes him. That is why gold hit $5,000. The smart money, the hedge funds, the sovereign wealth funds, the central banks of China and Russia, they see what is coming. They know that if Trump wins this war, the floodgates of liquidity will open. The dollar will be flooded into the system, and the value of your cash savings will evaporate. So they are dumping dollars and buying the only asset that cannot be printed. They are buying gold. They are buying Bitcoin. They are exiting the system. But there is a distraction, and it's a brilliant one. While this monetary war is happening, what is the media talking about? Greenland. Let's talk about Greenland for a second, because it is the perfect example of Trump's art of the deal, chaos. Trump says he wants to buy Greenland. Denmark says no. Trump threatens 100% tariffs on European wine and cars. The media goes crazy. He's insane. He can't buy an island. You are missing the point. He doesn't want the island. He wants the panic. When Trump creates geopolitical chaos, what happens to the markets? They get volatile. When he threatens tariffs on Canada, what happens to the Canadian dollar? It crashes against the US dollar. Wait, didn't I just say he wants a weak dollar? Yes. But tariffs are the leverage he uses to force other countries to weaken their currencies alongside us, or to accept trade deals that favor American exports. It is 4D chess played with your 401k. He is breaking the global trade order to rebuild it with America at the center, but the transition period, the period we are in right now, is going to be violent. Let's look at the Canada situation. Trump threatened a 25% tariff on all Canadian goods if they don't fix their border issues. The Canadian economy is dependent on the U.S. If that tariff hits, Canada goes into a depression. So what does Canada do? They sell U.S. dollars. They try to diversify. This creates chaos in the currency markets. And amidst all this, we have the debt bomb. The United States is $38 trillion in debt. The interest payments on that debt are now higher than our defense budget. We are borrowing money just to pay the interest on the money we already borrowed. It is a Ponzi scheme. There are only two ways out of a debt spiral. Option one, default. You tell the world, sorry, we aren't paying you back. That leads to a global depression and the end of the American empire. Option two, devaluation. You print so much money that the debt becomes meaningless. You pay back the Chinese with dollars that are worth 10 cents. Trump is choosing option two. He is going to inflate the debt away. He is going to debase the currency to save the sovereign. This is why gold is at $5,000. Gold is sniffing out the inflation that hasn't hit the CPI yet. The market knows that the only way to pay off $38 trillion is to make the dollar worth less. So what does this mean for you? If you are sitting in a savings account earning 4% interest, you are losing money. Real inflation, not the government CPI number, but the actual devaluation of your purchasing power is running at 10% or 15%. You are getting poorer every single day you hold cash. This is the silent tax. The government doesn't need to raise your income tax. They just need to print money. When they print $1 trillion to pay for a war or a bailout, they are stealing value from every dollar in your pocket. They are diluting your labor. And Trump is about to put this process on steroids. By pressuring the Fed to cut rates while inflation is still sticky, he is pouring gasoline on the fire. He is betting that the manufacturing boom will outpace the inflation pain. Maybe he's right. Maybe in 10 years, we have a booming economy. But in the next 2 years, it is going to be ugly. We are going to see stagflation, high prices, slow growth in the service sector, but a boom in manufacturing, a tale of two economies. If you own assets, stocks, real estate, gold, crypto, you will get rich. The nominal price of your assets will skyrocket as the dollar collapses. But if you are a wage earner, if you rent, if you live paycheck to paycheck, you are going to get crushed. Your wages will not keep up with the price of bread and gas. This is why the war on the Fed is the most important story of 2026. The Federal Reserve is the last line of defense for the saver. Powell, for all his faults, is trying to protect the currency. Trump attacks him because Trump represents the borrower. Trump is the king of debt. He loves debt. He built his empire on debt. And borrowers love inflation. Inflation wipes out debt. So you have the president, the borrower, fighting the Fed, the banker. And the borrower is winning. Look at the bond market. The 10-year Treasury yield is spiking. Why? Because bond vigilantes are demanding higher interest rates to hold U.S. debt. They know they are going to get paid back in funny money. When the bond market breaks, the Fed has to step in and buy the debt. That is called yield curve control. That is the end game. When the Fed starts buying U.S. debt to keep rates down, the dollar dies. That is the moment gold goes to $10,000. That is the moment Bitcoin goes to $250,000. We are inches away from that moment. And this brings us to the crypto angle. Bitcoin just hit $90,000. Why? Because Bitcoin is the anti-dollar. It is the only asset that no government can dilute. Trump knows this. That is why he pivoted to being pro-crypto. He wants the U.S. to be the crypto capital of the world because he knows the dollar's dominance is fading. He is hedging his bets. He wants the U.S. to control the next reserve currency if the dollar fails. If you don't have exposure to hard assets, you are naked in a blizzard. You are trusting politicians to protect your purchasing power. History tells us that is a suicide mission. From Rome to Weimar Germany to Zimbabwe, every government eventually destroys its currency. The U.S. is not immune. The signs are everywhere. Gold at $5,000, Bitcoin at $90,000, tariff wars, Fed firing threats, debt at $38 trillion. The system is flashing red. So what do? You stop thinking in dollars. You start thinking in purchasing power. Don't ask how much is this house in dollars. Ask how many ounces of gold is this house. Don't ask how much is my salary. Ask how much Bitcoin can I buy with my salary. You need to get out of the fiat matrix. You need to become your own central bank. Trump is playing a dangerous game. He is trying to crash land the economy to rebuild it. It might work. He might save American industry, but the cost will be the US dollar. Do not let your life savings be the cost of his ambition. Diversify, get tangible, get digital, and do not trust the official inflation numbers. The dollar is dying. Long live the assets. I will keep tracking the gold price. I will keep tracking the Fed war. This is the story of the decade, and we are just in the first chapter. Subscribe to the channel. I will tell you the truth when the TV tells you lies. I'll see you in the next video.